The headlines, the issues impacting you, all on This Week in Cincinnati on 9 on your side.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to This Week in Cincinnati. I'm Tanya O'Rourke. First today, Newport's new police chief, Chris Fangman. Chief Fangman has been with the department for 15 years. He served as the patrol division commander, SWAT team commander, and neighborhood liaison officer. He succeeds Chief Tom Collins, who served as Newport's chief since 2012. And with us now is Chief Fangman. Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on your promotion. It's really wonderful. And I got to say, a lot of people might know the name Keith Fangman, your uncle. You are from a generationally, you guys are all police officers. So you decided 15 years ago to head to Newport. That was okay?
Yes, I consulted my grandpa, who started in Cincinnati in 1962, I believe. And I have two other family members, to include all three uncles that worked for Cincinnati as well. And I spoke to them about the opportunity that Newport offered, and I spoke to my dad with them and explained to them the benefits, the salary, the retirement, and they said I'd be a fool not to jump on the opportunity. So God blessed me with Newport, and it's a great place to be.
Good. And so what are the biggest challenges you face as chief?
When I got hired, the levee was exciting and busy, and it was where everybody was, and it was a very exciting place to be. And again, much like when the levee opened, we're on the verge of an explosion of economic development.
Right.
So a big challenge is something that we challenge ourselves, and that is to stay ahead of the curve and meet all the expectations of new businesses and new residents.
All right, let's talk about crime in Newport. What types of crime are really plaguing that city, if at all, and how are you combating it?
So what people don't remember sometimes is that we're in the middle of a 2 million person metropolitan area. Yeah. Cincinnati, Covington, and Newport are in the epicenter of that area. And we're the urban core. We're very proud of our neighborhoods and how successful they can be so close to the urban core. It's a much more almost suburban feel in some of our neighborhoods. So crime isn't plaguing, I would say, by any means in our neighborhoods, and we have a good handle on it.
Is there one thing, like, are we dealing with drugs? Is drugs the primary issue, though, that law enforcement is dealing with on a daily basis?
I'd say that's accurate, yeah.
You were the new neighborhood liaison officer for some time in Newport. That had to teach you something that you did not expect. What'd you learn?
Yeah, so being the neighborhood liaison officer was a fantastic opportunity to really learn the silent majority of people that really support the police. Going and meeting with them one-on-one and gaining respect both ways with our residents is phenomenal, and it really lets you know that people do support the police, even when the times are hard across the country. Our Newport residents are second to none in making us feel appreciated.
You talked about being in the epicenter. You got Covington, Cincinnati, Newport. Have you met with the other chiefs in the area? Are you guys all working? Are you coordinated? Are you sort of a fraternity of some sort to deal with, like, hey, this is what we're dealing with, and here's how we're moving forward. Here's what you guys might do too.
Yes, the other chiefs were very welcoming. One of the first things that I was able to do was attend the Campbell County Police Chiefs meeting, which is once a month. Then there's also a Northern Kentucky Police Chiefs meeting once a month, and they're one day after the other. So we can
a lot of meetings.
We can talk about everything and get on the same page. And there's a lot of groundwork that we've been doing for several years of training with each other.
What is something that you want the folks of Newport, since you are still new in this position, they've seen you around for 15 years probably, maybe some have had interactions with you as a liaison officer, but what do you want them to know about you as the police chief of their community?
I want them to know how much I enjoy the city of Newport. I could not be more appreciative of their trust in me to hold this position. So much positive feedback. I want them to know that I'm genuine and I care, and I thoroughly enjoy working in Newport, and I have my entire career.
So about a year ago, the I-Team looked at use of force by departments across the tri-state. Our review of police records found Newport officers hit people in the face 11 times since 2016, and were never criticized during the reviews of those incidents. In some ways, the department was out of line with federal standards on the use of force by police. The officer responsible for many of those incidents is no longer with the department, and that was a year ago. So what has the department done since then to change things, and what do you want to do going forward?
A police department is a living, breathing thing. I really appreciate what you all do, and I appreciate media outlets, but those are for TV, and we have a sense of we still need to put our head down and wear our white hats and deal with personnel issues. Whether there's a story going on or not, we still need to make the right personnel changes and deal with issues. There's problem employees at every level of profession, and we just need to do the right thing and stay on top of that.
Okay, so finally, You've been? How long have you been chief now?
Just over 2 weeks.
Just over 2 weeks. So you're still in this honeymoon period. So do you have like a list of 3 or 4 things that you could share with us of what you really want to accomplish in your first year?
In my first year, already the new music venues being built. There's already a lot of talk about the explosion of economic opportunities. I want to be prepared. One of my main focuses is to have our department prepared to meet those standards. It's very important to me for us to be paramount, a paramount police department that can deal with Fortune 500 companies and be there for everybody's needs. Other things I want to do is keep going what Chief Collins started, the direction of a great police force that is out there in the community, very community oriented. I want to keep that going. I want to make sure our officers are at every neighborhood event and to be there for everybody when possible.
One last thing, since you do come from a long line of police officers, those serving our communities, what did your family think when you said, I'm going to be chief?
It was just an overwhelming sense of congratulatory feelings, and being in this line of work and being around the dinner table and Christmas dinners and knowing what it entails to be a police officer, they couldn't have been more proud. It's a fantastic family that I have, and I couldn't have received more support.
Chief Fangman, it is nice to meet you. It is nice to have you here. Congratulations on your new post. We'll be talking to you soon, I'm sure of it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Up next, a new group that wants to change the focus of the conversations about race in Cincinnati. We're going to talk with one of the leaders of Jubilee Cincinnati about its call for an alternative economy. And what in the world does that mean? We'll be back.
People, the headlines, the issues impacting you, all on This Week in Cincinnati on 9 on Your Side. The issues impacting you, all on This Week in Cincinnati on 9 on Your Side.
Welcome back, everyone. The subject of race and all the issues that it involves is one of the most difficult things that we talk about anywhere, but certainly here in Cincinnati. It involves so many parts of our community: politics, business, housing, economics, education, and transportation, and that's just a few areas. Now a new group says it's working to change its narrative, the narrative that is, about race in Cincinnati. Jubilee Cincinnati released a video to introduce itself just a few days ago. Take a look.
We are building a movement. It's called Jubilee. We are tired of a society that doesn't support the livelihood of ordinary people. We are tired of a predatory economy where the rich benefit and the vast majority struggle for economic security on a daily basis. Imagine a better future. Imagine a better world.
Imagine if we lived in a city that uplifted people that truly worked the hardest just to get by.
Imagine a city that works for everybody, regardless of the color of your skin, the language you speak, or the neighborhood in which you're born.
Well, among those leading Jubilee Cincinnati is this man, Marvin Hawkins. And we thank you so much, Marvin, for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so Jubilee Cincinnati is an economic empowerment initiative, but what are we really talking about here?
So Jubilee Cincinnati was an initiative, an ideal that's been around since around 2017. It was sparked out of conversations with the faith-based community and the corporate community about how to level the playing field and empower our communities here, especially communities of color, predominantly the African-American community and those surrounding. So they've been talking about creating a system, a separate ecosystem that can support and empower folks in the areas of land and housing, economic development, debt relief, and also economic empowerment. So we've been working diligently the last few months to launch this new initiative in Cincinnati. As I said, it's been around for a while, but now we have sort of kicked into overdrive, and it's going to culminate into a huge kickoff on October 12th of this year.
All right, I want to get to this alternative economy you guys are talking about, but first I want to ask you, is there some significance behind the name Jubilee?
Yes, Jubilee actually is from the Old Testament biblical text. It's a Hebrew word. Technically, this is the year of Jubilee, which is the ending of 400 years of slavery. You've all heard about the narrative that's been happening nationally around the 1619 to 2019. So this will be the year where debts are being released and eliminated, And we have an opportunity as a people, united collectively, to rise above, and specifically those communities who have not been able to see that uptrend or are being successful at being economically successful.
So then let's talk about what you mean by an alternative economy.
Well, it's the theory behind I am my brother's keeper, us supporting one another, and especially within our community here in Cincinnati and worldwide, the African American community. We've seen that because there weren't as many opportunities for us to get ahead or to even be successful or to economically or in various aspects of society. It's really about supporting one another and really putting energy and resources and money behind this whole thought of, helping one another, pulling each other up, and so that we can prosper as one.
Okay, so you talk about it in your work, in the paperwork that we got, a reconstruction fund to invest in African American and low income communities. So where does that money come from?
That is money that we are seeking actually currently from many different areas, private donors, the corporate community, actually fundraising efforts. We are launching a huge grassroots campaign to not only raise the consciousness and awareness, but to also raise that money. And with that, we can start to reinvest in our neighborhoods, reinvest in us as a people, various projects, everything from housing and land acquisition to actually helping people, like I said, get out of debt and things of that nature.
All right, so let's try to give an example of how you see this working for like Joe Smith down the street. This alternative economy, this reconstruction fund, how does this work for this guy who needs help?
Absolutely. So hypothetically, say you have someone who is, $50,000 in debt. They lost their house. They've always wanted to own a business, and they've always wanted to own a house, and they wanted to create a legacy to leave for their children. This particular reconstruction fund and movement, they can tap into the resources to be able to get debt counseling, perhaps get resources that will help them get out of debt, reverse that trend, to be able to then put them in places where they can become economically sustainable. Then teaching them and giving them resources on how to purchase property, purchase their first house, for instance. Create wealth that's sustainable that they can then pass on to their family members.
Is there no one doing this besides Jubilee?
There are people, we've seen some nationwide models that are currently in place as we speak and that have seen results. But as far as our region, we haven't really seen this type of movement before. So we're very, very excited about it. It's a labor of love for me and my colleagues and the folks who are our partners in this. We're working with institutions like Xavier University. We're powered by Economics of Compassion Initiative and many others in the community who have stepped forward to join this dialogue.
One of the things people love to buy homes. So the website mentions renting partnerships to help people afford more affordable homes, right? To be able to purchase a home. How would that work?
Well, there's many different models that can be used for this. We are working on a bunch of different initiatives that will be incorporated into what we call the Jubilee Alliance. One good example is dividend housing. We found a model where individuals can actually rent, and while they're renting, a portion of their rent can go into a fund to build equity that once they complete a long-term lease, say 5 or 10 years, they have a pot of money that they can then go to invest into a home of their own or even to open a business. So there are several different things that we're working on.
Okay, and so how is this being received so far? I mean, it's only been a little while, a couple years, but now you're really ramping up. What's the feedback? It
is being received very well. As I said, we're kicking off this conversation. It's really a national conversation on October 12th at Cincinnati State. And we're calling for the community to come out and support and learn more about Jubilee. You can get more information, of course, at our website at www.jubileecincinnati.org.
And the Reconstruction Fund, do we have an amount in there already?
We do not have a solid amount yet, but we actually are creating that fund as we speak. But we do have several donors who have come forth to help us get it off the ground and produce the infrastructure and things of that.
What do you need before you can really say, okay, guys, we're ready, let's roll?
Actually, we actually need folks to step forward and say, hey, we will pledge, we will invest, and that will help us get things in place, actually.
All right, Marvin Hawkins from Jubilee Cincinnati, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us.
Thank you.
Making Cincinnati safer for pedestrians, and national guidelines Cincinnati may soon adopt, and what it would mean for drivers. It's next on This Week in Cincinnati.
The people, the headlines, the issues impacting you, all on This Week in Cincinnati on 9 on Your Side.
generous.
Issues impacting you. All on This Week in Cincinnati on 9 on Your Side.
Pedestrian safety is a big issue in Cincinnati. About a dozen CPS students were hit by cars last year. So now city leaders are looking at a new approach to designing sidewalks and streets and getting rid of what they say are outdated streetscapes. As part of our continuing coverage of our growing region and the issues it faces, Move Up Cincinnati, 9 on Your Side's Marielle Carbone has the new recommendations from the city manager.
A plea for more.
You guys are working hard, but we got to work harder. We got to do more.
1 year ago, Shauna Rodriguez's daughter, Gabby, was hit and killed by a car. Now pedestrian safety is her life's goal.
I'm really hoping that we're working towards more crosswalks and more lighted crosswalks.
And it's one for city leaders, too.
There is no silver bullet.
That's why City Manager Patrick Duhaney is recommending that the council revise how it sets policy for sidewalk and street design, putting safety at the forefront. To do that, he wants the city to adopt an ACTO guide, or the National Association of City Transportation Officials, which puts a focus on creating safe spaces for all people, biking, walking, or driving.
This is what people across the city of Cincinnati have been calling for, to design our streets with speed humps, with bump outs.
Derek Bauman, a local advocate for pedestrian safety, supports this.
Just the concept that our streets are not just designed for cars racing through at top speed.
Under NACTO's Urban Street Design Guide, the city could see raised crosswalks, bump outs, curb extensions, and more, all designed to make the streetscape more livable.
This is going to be an issue of prioritizing this in our capital budget. And so when there is a development, making sure that the right crosswalks are there.
That was Marielle Carbone reporting. Cincinnati isn't alone in looking at changes like this. Nearly 70 cities across the country that are following those same guidelines, including Columbus, Pittsburgh, and Chicago. This Week in Cincinnati is coming right back.
The people, the headlines, the issues impacting you. All on This Week in Cincinnati on 9 on Your Side.
Update your kitchen with affordable
Impacting you. All on This Week in Cincinnati on 9 on Your Side.
Moving on to Plan B. Kentucky state officials announced this week that the current plan to roll out the Real ID is not going to work. Transportation officials say the plan for people to get the Real IDs at county offices isn't sustainable. They want to set up regional offices, meaning Kentuckians will have to pass up their usual BMV for a new location. That will start in October of 2020. The TSA and other organizations will not accept Kentucky's current license as identification to board a plane because it doesn't meet federal standards. After that date, you're going to need a passport to board a plane if you don't have a Real ID. Cincinnati Police Chief Elliot Isaac says real men wear pink. Officers in the department will wear pink hats, badges, and patches starting soon and will go through the end of the month of October. It's to raise awareness for breast cancer. The department will also host the CPD Fashion Goes Pink fashion show, that is, October 5th. Tickets are available online. Cincinnati State this week celebrated 50 years of helping people change their lives. The school received its charter in 1969. President Monica Posey says the college has come a long way since then, unveiling a new report showing the economic impact it has on our region. She says it's more than $800 million each and every year.
We have grown tremendously, starting with a few hundred students to educating over 10,000 students.
Well, Posey also says the college has grown itself, starting out with just 600 students. As she said, more than 10,000 students attend there every year. We want your opinion about any of the stories you see on 9 on Your Side. Call Feedback Friday's hotline. It's 513-852-4998 or visit WCPO.com/feedbackfriday to submit a feedback video. My co-anchor Craig McKee will have your thoughts on 9 on Your Side at 6. That is This Week in Cincinnati for this Sunday. Join us for breaking news, weather, and sports at 6 and 11 tonight on 9 on Your Side. Plus, we're always updating your headlines on WCPO.com.